Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. How's Eddie Frederick?
So glad you can join us. Trinidad and Tobago's Protective Services Associations warn government in for a rude awakening. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 24th August 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. The various arms of the protective services in Trinidad and Tobago, together with the Public Services Association, are sending a message to the government there. You're in for a rude awakening. Ranessa Cutting of TV6 News has more.
This time around, it's no empty threat, at least according to Richards, who says, essential or not, members of the protective services are prepared to take a stand in the face of government's 4% wage increase offer.
Because we are bounded by rules and regulations, and we are bounded by a lot of restrictions on the basis of the IRA and so on, they believe that they could push around, undermine, terrorize, and impoverish persons who they believe to be essential to the functioning of Trinidad and Tobago. Treat us like dirt. And I'm saying there's a rude awakening coming.
But the Prisons Officers Association president says whatever action may ensue will not be as a result of any directive from the associations.
This is not a plan generated by the respective organizations. You know. This is members simply telling us that they have reached their end. They have reached their end. They are seeing the disparity with how they are treated and how parliamentarians treat themselves.
The various associations maintain the state can do better by public servants than the 4% offer. And they say government can start by cutting back on unnecessary expenses.
Our members are asking us, the union, the associations, how in heaven's name can we celebrate our 60th anniversary as an independent nation, spending millions and millions of dollars to celebrate our 60th anniversary, whilst we have public officers living in abject hardship and inability to take care of their family, take care of their homes.
PSA President Leroy Batiste is urging the powers that be not to ignore what he says is a final warning, as he vows workers will never accept the CPO's offer.
If you are tempting slave persons, then what will naturally follow is the revolt. This will end. This will end with workers being able to maintain their standard of living. It's only out to them.
Ranessa Cutting, TV6 News.
Not only is High Court Judge Carol Gobin questioning the closure of the Hall of Justice last week due to a COVID outbreak, the judge has defied the order and is demanding an explanation from the Chief Justice. More in this TV6 News item.
High Court Judge Carol Gobin is questioning the decision to close the Hall of Justice last week, banning all in-person activities from the 16th to the 22nd of August. A statement from the judiciary said it was due to COVID exposure in the building. In a correspondence she sent to Chief Justice Iva Archie and acquired by media, she questions the move given what she says is the policy articulated by the Prime Minister on the return to normalcy with caution, the removal of all restrictions, and an emphasis on personal responsibility. Justice Gobin in her correspondence says, quote, "I consider this far-reaching, intrusive decision to be quite perplexing," end quote. She says the decision immediately denied access to the public, staff, and it also directly interfered with her judicial independence, saying, quote, "My plans to do my judicial work with the assistance of my team were unceremoniously scuppered," end quote. Justice Gobin says she was informed by Court Protocol Information Manager Carl Francis that a quote-unquote super spreader event at the hall left several persons ill. But she says she found it astounding he would not give details of the event, say when it was held, or where in the building, even exactly on which floor. Justice Gobin says, quote, "Needless to say, I ignored the directive, which I considered to be arbitrary and unwarranted. The legality of it seemed open to question at several levels. I attended my chambers and worked on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Save for our hard-working security officers, I was the only person at the Hall of Justice until Friday, Chief Justice, when you appeared with your entourage. During that time, the judge says she observed no sanitizing operations taking place." Justice Gobin says his staff cannot work from home efficiently without access to work and judiciary programs, which are not on the laptop provided by the judiciary. The judge asks for, among other things, the legal basis for the implementation of policies by the judiciary, which she says appear to be inconsistent with the Ministry of Health guidelines and national policy. She put the Chief Justice on notice that her correspondence will be forwarded to the media, as in her opinion, it is of public importance, and her past concerns have either been ignored, ridiculed, or met with snide retorts. Ravishi Tumori, Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Over to St. Lucia, where there will be a new acting police commissioner come December when current Commissioner Milton Daisy's contract ends. That's the word coming from Prime Minister Philip J. Peer. Don Nicholas of the DBS News World reports.
In speaking to the media ahead of Monday's weekly cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Philip Peer disclosed that Police Commissioner Milton Daisy's contract will expire at year end. Mr. Daisy, who had proceeded on retirement leave in September 2020 after serving as Deputy Commissioner, was recalled to duty as Deputy Commissioner and subsequently appointed Commissioner in February 2021, succeeding Severin Morcheri. The Prime Minister would not be drawn into releasing any further details except to say that there will be an acting commissioner.
The Commissioner of Police's contract is finishing in December. That's it. So that means there will be a new acting Commissioner of Police.
Meanwhile, gun violence has continued to escalate. In 2021, St. Lucia recorded 74 homicides, the highest in any year. And on Monday, February 14th, 2022, Prime Minister Peer held an emergency meeting with the hierarchy of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force after the country recorded 4 homicides for that weekend. At that meeting, the Prime Minister committed to providing the police with the resources and training opportunities needed to fight crime, and followed that up with a donation of a fleet of 11 vehicles to the lawmen a couple weeks later. When asked about the possibility of renewing Mr. Daisy's contract, the Prime Minister simply repeated his earlier statement.
The Commissioner of Police's contract ends at the end of December.
Milton Daisy has spent 35 years in the police force, serving in various departments, including traffic and the Marine Unit. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
Jamaica's president of the Manufacturers and Export Association, John Mahfood, joins the long list of people who are calling for a solution to the crime problem in the country. He categorically stated that Jamaica lacks leadership in that regard.
There is a lack of leadership in our politicians. We talk about another election promise, reducing crime so that you can sleep at night with your windows open. Why make comments, just for the sake of running your mouth if you're not going to do anything about it? That's the only thing politicians hear, is when you publicize things, when you say things in public. We Jamaicans like to whisper because we think that when you talk and you whisper and you tell them your opinions privately, it means something. It don't mean nothing.
Association of Public Transport discusses new deal with Rubis that could help public service vehicles in Barbados save on fuel. Sandy Dean of Barbados Today has that story.
Public service vehicle operators could soon be paying less for fuel under an arrangement with a major player in the industry. Chairman of the Alliance Owners of Public Transport, Roy Raphael, has revealed to Barbados Today that the association is working with Rubis on a deal that would provide them with much-needed savings.
We have to return to the table again on Friday because we will have a number of options was put on the table on our side, as well as a number of options were put on the table on their side. And they have access to go away and look at it, put it to our members. They will have explored some of the areas in which they will have worked with some of our counterparts in the Caribbean, such as Grenada, the Grenada Transportation Association, the Minibus Association of Grenada. They will have worked with them. They will have worked with Cayman Island and a number of other companies. So I would say, yes, discussion is still going on. We're hoping that by next week we should be in a better position to speak to the public about it.
Meantime, Chief Medical Officer of Barbados is very concerned about rising COVID deaths among the elderly. More in this Barbados Today news item.
The island's chief medical officer is concerned about high COVID-19 deaths among the elderly. Dr. Kenneth George says even as the island continues to ease restrictions and resume a range of activities, citizens must be more mindful of how their actions can impact this vulnerable group.
85% of deaths are occurring in people 70 years and older. It's occurring too often. So while we relax on one hand, I'm again appealing to the public that particularly when you have older persons in a household, that you pay specific attention to them. Because frequently these older people have comorbid conditions like diabetes and hypertension. And once COVID and diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, etc. mix, the outcomes are frequently not good.
He was speaking on the sidelines of a conference hosted by the Pan American Health Organization, examining events resulting from vaccination or immunization. Dr. George revealed that the island will soon have new directives, which will see a further ease in restrictions, but he notes that mask wearing will remain in place.
There are some new directives that will be coming out on the 29th, and that will again reflect a further reduction in the, because we don't want to be in a place where we know too much about the virus for us to be in a state of emergency. What I will tell you is that mask wearing will continue for some time to be pivotal to prevent spread of infection. And because we require people to wear masks, particularly when they are indoors, it is important that the directive continue for a little longer.
Co-coordinator of the National Vaccination Program, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, is equally concerned about deaths among the elderly, and she is again urging more people, especially the young, to get vaccinated to help protect their elderly family members.
I need more people to come forward and get their boosters. And then there's still that little 30% who have not come forward. And these are people between the ages of 20 and 50. You young people, and I'm calling you young, I wish I was that young now, but we need to get you vaccinated because you're the ones who are taking the disease into the homes and giving your older parents and grandparents. And as CMO has just said, they're the ones who are dying, the elderly with comorbidities. So yes, I want you to come up and get your boosters. And if you haven't had a booster, and haven't had any vaccinations, come and get them. I've got a special AstraZeneca in. It's only valid or eligible till the end of August. So please, if you want Astra, come now and get it before the end of August.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.